Welcome all to Vera, and hello to all potential mayors or the citizens who might watch this video. We hope this video can serve as an informative tool which can help mayors that want to learn how to not mess things up, or help citizens understand why your mayor does what he or she does. Disclaimer: all of this information is what we know in the middle of Alpha 2 Phase 1 testing, and everything is subject to change in the future. Let's start from the beginning of the game. At the beginning stages of the game, citizenship and mayorship does not yet exist. All nodes begin in the wilderness stage, and people must walk around and do things within the node's zone of influence to level it up. It will first level to a crossroads, and then to an encampment, and only once it levels up to its third stage, the village, only then will the citizenship become available. You can then head down to the town hall of the village and become the node's citizen, but only if you're level 10. Be warned that renouncing your citizenship will put you in a 36-hour cooldown for citizenship, so choose your home node wisely from the start. When you become a citizen, you can press N to open the node menu, which is where you can see everything your node has and needs. If you want a mayor in your node, 10 people who are all level 10 will need to register as citizens within the node. Once you have enough citizens, you will see a notification saying that the registration period has begun for mayorship. This registration period lasts for 2 hours, where any citizen can head over to the town hall and throw their name into the election process. Once the 2 hours go by, no more people can put their name in and the voting process begins. Every citizen, and only citizens of the node, get one vote and choose who they want the mayor to be. This voting process lasts for 2 hours, and once it is done, your mayor gets elected. Immediately, the mayor gets the ability to access mayor functions, which I will cover all the mayor functions within this video. Let's start from the top. As the mayor, you're able to view resources that your node currently has. All nodes begin with some gold and enough resources to start some of the simple buildings. So let's go over all of these buildings. Within the village node, which is the highest stage you can reach in Phase 1 of Alpha 2, each node gets 4 empty plots to build on. There are 2 types of buildings you can make: an artisan building or an expansion building. Artisan buildings provide gathering, processing, and crafting tables that everyone wants. Expansion buildings serve as passive collectors of some resources, while also providing buffs to the node, and an expansion point which you can see next to the gold on top. There are 8 artisan buildings to choose from, which all citizens can view and dissect this menu to figure out what exactly each one of these provides and what it costs to build one of these. And there are 5 node expansion buildings which have a lower cost to build but don't provide any artisan tools. On one hand, you might say, why even build the expansion buildings? We all just want artisan tables. And sure, you can simply put down 4 artisan buildings. That is, if you want the node to get locked up in only having apprentice level artisan tables. At this point in testing, you can have your artisan profession go to apprentice at level 10 and journeyman at level 20. You can level beyond that, but there is nothing to do beyond journeyman at the moment. The initial artisan building you build in the node provides the specific apprentice level tables that an apprentice level artisan can use to build bigger and better things. But if you want your node to be able to provide journeyman level tools, you will need to upgrade the building to the next stage, and upgrading the building will require a node expansion point, which you need a node expansion building to get. Also, when you put into consideration what journeyman building you want, you might also notice that the upgrade follows a niche profession. So while an apprentice level stoneworks might provide an apprentice pickaxe, an apprentice stonemasonry station, and an apprentice jeweler station, you will need 3 separate stonework buildings to upgrade to each individual journeyman tool. And you might also notice that within the cost to build this building, you need a node expansion point. So at the current moment, if you wanted each one of the stonemasonry expansions, you will first need to build 3 identical stoneworks buildings. Then you will need a vocational farm for the quarry and 2 civic trade bureaus. Only then will your stonemasonry building be able to upgrade to their individual journeyman professions. In its totality, just for the stonemasonry upgrades to journeyman, it will take 6 building spots to complete, which at the village stage, no single node can get this done. In total, there are 22 journeyman buildings available to try building, which will require 44 building spots to achieve. A collection of 5 nodes in this testing phase only has 20 building spots. This is why to reach maximum efficiency, some level of cooperation and mutual understanding between mayors needs to be achieved, or else one mayor can easily break away from the process and lock everyone into no longer being able to reach even a single journeyman level craft. Only once the world expands and we go beyond just villages, only then can we start playing around with rivalries and mayors going up against each other on who can build the better setup so people will choose to live in one area of the world versus the other. But back to the buildings. You might notice that each building also has a cost to it. The cost consists of construction cost, citizenship contribution cost, and maintenance cost. The construction cost uses node resources, around 255 of each, as well as some node gold, and if it's a journeyman building, it also uses a node expansion point. This is a one-time payment the mayors make to get the buildings to appear. The citizen contribution is then initiated once the construction cost is fulfilled. During this stage, a foreman appears in front of the building to whom all people can come and deliver the construction cost resources, which typically are 1,200 for abundant resources, around 600 for processed resources, and around 300 for more rare resources. When enough resources are donated, the building will set off a timer around an hour long, and after the time finishes, counting down, the building will appear. Once the building is complete, there will also be a maintenance cost on each building you build. This must be paid around what we assume is every week or potentially every 2 weeks or so, which generally consists of the exact same resources that were used in the construction cost, but only 15% of that initial cost. This must be paid or else the building will fall into disrepair, and you will need to pay even more resources to try and fix it. This makes it so that a node can't simply be built up and abandoned. The citizens must continue contributing and keeping the buildings alive. At the start, all mayors will be given simple starting resources, enough to build any of the expansion buildings, and almost enough to build one of the artisan buildings. So, since we are on the topic of contributions to building the buildings, let's go over how these node resources can be obtained. You may notice in the mayor perspective, he can see how many resources in total the node currently has. This is not visible to the citizen, so a mayor must communicate to the citizens what exactly he has and what he needs. Each buy order consists of contributing 2 resources, usually 10 of an abundant resource and 5 of a rarer to find resource. As a mayor, remember that when creating a new buy order, always think ahead. What is a resource people will be able to gather? Don't place an ingot in the buy order if the world has no smithy yet that can get you ingots. You can play around and make sure to check each menu. There are usually more than one recipe to choose from, and some recipes might be easier to fulfill. Under each recipe there are 2 ingredients. Make sure to choose something that can be obtained and not a rare resource no one can get. Make sure to communicate with your crafters and understand what is and isn't hard to obtain. As an example, Sanctus sauce is something that needs to go through a processing process but only costs 2 flowers and resources and some processing cost. Hence it makes that recipe the most convenient. Also remember that once you select an ingredient, that ingredient goes into a 36-hour cooldown. So, if one buy order you set zinc as the material to contribute, you will then need to wait 3 days to use zinc in another buy order. Once the resources are selected, you can choose a purchasing price. This is how many node resource tokens a player who contributes will receive. The difference between 1 and 10 node resource tokens is a few gold, so there is no reason to undercut the citizens. You can also set the duration of how long you want this buy order to stay up so people can contribute. Once again, no reason to set it low since you will need as much of each buy order as you can get, both for several buildings and for future maintenance costs. You can then set the quantity you want to be contributed. Once again, especially since selecting a resource will put you in a 3-day cooldown, selecting just enough quantity will cut you off from being able to fulfill maintenance costs and the potential of building other buildings which will require the same resource. And finally, you can select contribution limit, which, once again, no reason to undercut the players and limit them to any amount that each can contribute. So at the moment, setting all scales to the maximum is ideal. Once the buy order is scheduled, players can go to their respective requisition agent, who stands next to the storage agent in each node. And once players collect enough node tokens, they can go to one of the two token exchange NPCs, one near the market and the other at the town hall, who can trade the tokens for some equipment. At the moment, only a level 10 and a level 20 cape is available. The cape is themed after the node itself. There's also at the town hall the Mayoral store, where the mayor can grab his mount. Each mayor of each node receives their own unique flying mount. The mayor also has the ability to start a mayoral commission. These mayoral commissions cost 5 gold to start and last for 2 days. It requires the players to pick up the commission and complete it 100 times, which will reward the citizens with a buff when it works, and also gives players node tokens. Yet, with most of our testing, majority of the players don't do mayoral commissions, so at the moment it does seem like a waste of money. But contact your local mayor if your group wants to get one of these initiated and completed. Let's close this off with the true struggle that the mayors face. I speak of taxes. Players in a node pay taxes when buying things from NPCs, when processing and crafting, and this money goes into the node's coffers. To achieve 2 journeyman buildings in one node ultimately will take about 1,000 gold. So, couldn't we all agree that 100% tax rate is good for all of us?